Childhood is when you have a crush on Duchess from The Wolf of Wall Street. Adulthood is when you realize that Harley Quinn is where it's really at. Of course, today we are going to be talking about Birds of Prey, the fantabulous emancipation of Harley Quinn on the Everyman Movie Review. So I can't remember if we've had an opportunity to talk about any superheroes thus far on the Everyman Movie Review. We've been going since last fall, and I can't recall a real superhero movie other than perhaps Spider-Man Far From Home, which was a discussion about a summer movie that I brought in on a relatively calm week in the fall. And I guess I can say take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, because when the DC Universe is involved, not everyone is necessarily a superhero. Sometimes it's just ordinary people with nothing to lose or everything to gain, or just the desire to make a big impact on the world. Harleen Quiziel is in fact one of those people. Better known to you probably as Harley Quinn. She is the narrator of our story, and oh boy, she takes the term unreliable narrator to a whole new level. But before we get too far in, let's go ahead and handle the pleasantries, shall we? Harley Quinn was directed by Cathy Yan, and it was written by Christina Hudson. It is, of course, starring the beautiful, the talented, the amazing Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn / Harleen Quiziel. And I don't know if I gushed enough about Margot Robbie on the Bombshell review from about 2 months ago, but if I didn't, well, you're in for some of that tonight, so enjoy. Harley Quinn is also starring perennial favorite Rosie Perez as Good Cop Gone Good, Renee Montoya, Journey Smollett-Bell as the Black Canary, otherwise known as Dinah Lance, and Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Huntress / the Crossbow Killer / Helena Bertinelli. And they are, of course, joined by a fantastic supporting cast, including the likes of Ewan McGregor as Roman Sionius, Chris Messina as Victor Zsasz, and Ali Wong makes an appearance as Ellen Yee here at the beginning of the movie. And I am not forgetting, but I kind of wanted to start with Ella J. Basco as Cassandra Cain in an amazing performance by a young actress. Now, I'm not sure exactly how old Ella is. Probably something I should have looked up before I started. But she's playing like a mid to late teenager with an injured arm who just kind of is in the wrong place at the wrong time and happens to know the right people and run into the right people, for that matter, for solving the situation that she's gotten herself into. She sort of started off on the wrong track with life. She's in foster care, and she is kind of learning how to live on the street and just survive in a way that actually it seems like none of our heroes of this movie really had to. Each of them has kind of a unique origin story, but none of them are that hard scrabble life on the street as far as we can tell. But everyone she comes into contact with seems to have this duty or like this feeling, this draw to want to protect her, even against maybe their own self-interest. Nonetheless, she's put into some like really high-stakes situations, high-action situations, and some very difficult to emote situations, things that are just like happening, and how should I react? Being able to be on with Ewan McGregor and Margot Robbie and Rosie Perez and being able to compete and make sure that you're still in the scene with them and that you're staying up at their level. I can't imagine the kind of pressure that would put on someone, but she does it, and she does it so well. I think she is in fact a highlight of this, as much as I went to really see Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, let's be honest. Let's get back around to kind of where the story begins. We pick up the emancipation of Harley Quinn after both of the previous appearances in which we've seen her. That, of course, would be in Suicide Squad, and then later in the Batman movie with Ben Affleck. And she made a brief appearance in that Batman movie. It wasn't really a starring role. It wasn't even a supporting role. It was just an appearance role to kind of set the tone for the relationship that the Joker, played by Jared Leto, would play against Affleck's Batman. She, of course, played a much bigger role in Suicide Squad, but at one point she actually outlines to Cassandra why she is so unique. And she goes through these bullet points, and it's so funny because all of the bullet points are basically the plot points of those movies, which basically sets us up in the position to know this is at the end of all of that adventure. And our movie kicks off with Harley Quinn saying goodbye to Mr. J, to the love of her life, to Joker, and going off on her own. Now, of course, she doesn't tell everyone that at the very beginning because being Joker's girlfriend gives you a little bit of a life. You can do anything you want to anyone and no one's going to touch you. But eventually the word gets out, kind of because of Harley herself, that she has broken up with Joker and that she is no longer under his protection. Now, we don't see Joker throughout at all. And in fact, all of the appearances of Joker, if you will, like the illustrations and any time that he would appear in the movie, they use the illustrated face of Joker from Batman the Animated Series, which is a little bit of an Easter egg if you know anything about it, because the first appearance of Harley Quinn, Harleen Quiziel, wasn't in the comic books. It wasn't in any of the first movies. It wasn't anywhere in lore. It was in the animated series during the 90s, which of course I cut my teeth on. As a young teen, early middle school kid, John August used to say what this is, a secondary kid? I can't remember what it is now, but someone between the ages of 10 and 14. That show was super popular then, and I was at the perfect age for that to hit me and for me to just take it in. And in fact, we met Harley Quinn in her famous red and black off-quartered costume, which there is a little reference to in this movie as well. So we don't get to see Joker. We don't see Jared at all. We don't see who might take up the mantle of Joker after, because I don't think that Jared's going to be making his way back after the last Batman movie. Batman's not going to be making his way back after the last Batman movie, frankly. And I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. Obviously, the most recent Joker was a entirely different universe, set apart from everything else, the way that Christopher Nolan's Batman movies were set off from everything else and don't take place in kind of the greater DC universe. And again, I don't know that that's a bad thing. The last Joker movie was pretty amazing. And this little series that we've had, despite what some people may say, I have really enjoyed. I didn't like Ben Affleck's Batman, but I think it was because I don't like Ben Affleck, not because I didn't like his Batman. Just the same, Harley Quinn has separated herself from Joker. She's done so with a big exclamation point, and she's moving off on her own. However, when that exclamation point gets dotted, it sends a sign out to everyone in Gotham City that she's no longer protected, and everyone who might have a problem with her can now come after her. It's a pretty hard lesson. Emancipation never comes easily. It always comes with struggle, and it always comes with strife. Now, I do want to get into some spoilers from the film. I actually caught that movie tonight as I record it, so I'm very excited about a lot of it. On the ride home, everyone was talking about, what did you think, what did you think, what did you think? Well, I am not sharing my thoughts with those guys in the car. I am sharing them with you. So if you don't want to get spoiled, because obviously it's only in the first week of Harley Quinn movie, whatever you want to call it. So if you don't want to get spoiled, skip on down to the next time down below, because all the spoilers are about to start right now. So let's start the spoilers off with cute little things. How about she has a pet hyena, and she loves the hyena because it laughs. And of course, the laugh reminds her of Joker, so she likes that. But she doesn't see that. And this is something I'm going to admit, and I don't know if I have ever admitted this before. Definitely not on film, of course, but here we are. I'm just going to say it. Corey, the other half of the other podcast, my friend in real life and my cohort with the Anthem, has said for a very long time that it seems very suspicious that every woman I tend to date ends up being, I don't want to use the term crazy, because they're not crazy. They're not clinical. There's nothing wrong with them. They just seem to lose themselves as they date me. And of course, this brings me to make accusations like that they're crazy, even though that's not true. And he's said for a very long time, there's only one common denominator with all of these girls, Rob. The denominator is you. So maybe it's you who is bringing the crazy out in them, or maybe putting the crazy into them. And maybe you should have to come to terms with that. Now, I have never wanted to admit that he might be right about that. I got a bad picker, maybe? Maybe I always find them in a crowd? Who knows? But the attraction that I felt to Margot Robbie playing the character of Harley Quinn, a certainly attractive in a normal-ish kind of way, but an intelligent, yet psychotic, clinically insane person. And the fact that some part of my brain could compartmentalize the fact that she is bad. She's crazy. And I could still say, you know what? I bet I could fix her. I bet I could do, it'd be fine. We could work it out. It'd be okay. Something is wrong with my brain. And I think Corey may be right. It may be me after all. That's the only explanation that makes any sense at all. But enough therapy sessions in the spoiler section. Let's get back to the movie. There was a lot of really interesting things, I think. One is the way that they had kind of the unreliable narrator. I'm a huge fan of the unreliable narrator and its use in film because we as a viewer have a natural inclination to just trust and believe what the narrator tells you. And I have to say it's kind of interesting because I am watching / just finished / realize there's a third season, so I'm now moving my way through that. 13 Reasons Why. And although it's completely different, obviously, than the Emancipation of Harley Quinn, it's similar in a lot of ways. Because any story told from the perspective of one person, when it involves really the stories of other people, is going to skew. The narrator is inherently unreliable when telling any story that isn't solely about themselves, because they are always going to tell it from their perspective. Now, the truth is that this movie is Birds of Prey. It's a Birds of Prey movie. The Birds of Prey, though, aren't really that interesting, maybe not enough as far as an origin story. You gotta have something to bring them together. And the thing to bring them together is Harley Quinn. And eventually, I think they're gonna have a place in the DC universe. They can be the equals of basically any of the heroes that we've met so far, except maybe Wonder Woman, because Gal Gadot is just amazing. And I mean, not really Harley Quinn either. I think she's already earned her place in that universe. But the fact remains that this is a Birds of Prey movie, and the story is being told by Harley as she lived it. She's telling things mostly that she knows, or I guess seemingly as other people told her, those other people being the ones who lived it, of course. And that means there is an inherent flaw, and that flaw is the person telling you the story is literally insane. And I think that they use that as a reason why the narrative is kind of mixed up. We jump backwards and forwards and move throughout the story in a weird way, right up until the middle of the second act or so. Now, I have to say that that was one of the most distracting things for me about this movie. I would probably have preferred to just have it be a straight narrative all the way through. Like, let's hop around maybe between some of our heroes, or anti-heroes, I guess, no matter how you want to look at it. But let's just hop back and forth between them, see how they intertwine. It was interesting to see that like these things were coming together all at the same place, all at the same time, and how they got there. I'll give them that. It was slightly confusing, and I don't think it was necessary to have it kind of develop the way that it was. It shows she's an unreliable narrator. Great. I already know that. She's an insane person. She jumped in a vat of chemicals because she was in love with a guy. By the way, ladies, Valentine's Day's coming. If you want to show the man you love that you love him. I'm just kidding, of course. Don't jump in a vat of chemicals. Nobody wants that. Unless you end up looking like Margot Robbie. Then maybe. So I think you could have used just like one example where you would just say, hey, look, she's unreliable. We can't really say what's true, what's not. It's from her perspective. And then that puts a question in her mind all the way through the story. What's actually happening? Is she bending the facts, especially when it's not her in there? And I think we reached the end of the story too. And at one point, Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Huntress says, is she wearing skates? When did she have time for a shoe change? And it's just like, oh, well, Harley's telling the story, right? So of course, she's now going to be on roller skates because she likes roller skates. And, you know, she's going to be a badass. And this special vest that isn't the red and black crosshatch pattern she's so famous for is bulletproof and saves Rosie Perez. All those things are exactly what we expect when we have an unreliable narrator. And I have to say, I dug a lot about the movie. The action I thought was really good. The fact that weapons are kind of secondary here. It's not a lot of guns. I mean, Huntress has her crossbow, but mostly it's a lot of hand-to-hand, and it's just, you know, kind of comic book type fun. And I mean, let's just be honest. It's women kicking ass against a bunch of men who are just trying to control them. And I can appreciate that as well. But I just felt like the end, that last little bit right before the culmination, really was, I don't want to say predictable, because of course it's predictable if you see enough movies, but we need to come together as a team and work together. And that Harley's leading that team. Like, part of me says it's funny, and they went with the funny thing. They went with the cliche thing that we should have known was coming, and we probably knew was coming, and hey, let's all work together. And then we match that with Harley and Cassandra leaving them behind later on. And part of me says that they didn't make enough fun of it outside of the character of Harley and how she usually acts to make it seem like a cliche and like it shouldn't have been a surprise that this was what was going to happen all along. So I'm trying to balance those two things in my mind, and I just don't know where I fall. So you can be the one who decides, maybe for me or for yourself. Is it working in the cliche and just kind of turning that around and being like, yeah, we know this is cliche, but we're going to do it anyway? Or is it, this is where we were going all along? And of course, the happy ending. The happy ending. Well, happy-ish ending. Harley and Cassandra ride off into the sunset. They give the code to the Swiss bank to the Birds of Prey so they can start their little crime-fighting gang, and then they take the actual diamond and use it to start a company, Harley Quinn and Associates, and whatever that means, whatever the company is. And Harley's finally moved on. She's wearing a collar that, instead of having the J for Joker, has Bruce for her hyena. I guess there's some humor there. I don't know. I just felt like I was super into the movie and I was loving it right up until they got up into the booby trap at the docks. Just at that point, after that, I was really involved with everything the whole movie. And then after that, it really just kind of had its moments. It had these bright spots as we were getting out. And maybe that's because I realized we were getting to the culmination and I was sad and I didn't want it to be over. I stole your ring. What ring? Bonk! And push him off. And then I really thought he was going to hit the water. So when Ewan McGregor goes over the side with the grenade in his pants, I thought for sure he was going to hit the water and then splash. And they just caught us by surprise with a boom right above the water. That was really good. That was really good. That was a high moment. A cheesy conversation and a lot of the fight scene there at the end. They had some really high points, but it went on really long, and because there's no weapons, it was really just hit, same hit, different hit, same hit. I don't really think it was necessary. Okay, we get it. They're going to beat everybody up. Let's just move things along. Maybe get a little more of the characters that we love rather than just the fight. But I'm definitely wandering out of spoilers. So let's go ahead and bring everybody back in, and we can wrap things up and discuss the end of the movie right now. So for those of you who skipped the spoiler section, had a bit of confessional in there. I feel like my heart is lighter and a weight has lifted off my shoulders. So I hope you come back after you see Birds of Prey, the fantabulous emancipation of Harley Quinn, and check out that section that you just skipped over. I think maybe you'll be entertained by it. Maybe you'll like it. I don't know. I think you'll feel the same way that I do about the characters that I just talked about. Overall, though, what am I going to say? I don't want to just be glowingly positive about it, because the DC universe, it's so difficult to get a good movie. I also don't want to be super critical about it. So Joker was beautiful and amazing. It had its moments that were not so great. And Harley is the same way. Birds of Prey, the fantabulous emancipation of Harley Quinn, was the same way. It had mostly great moments. Now, Joker and this movie are very different things. And the parts I didn't like of Joker I didn't like for different reasons, and I didn't like the parts that I didn't like of Harley Quinn. They both had their great parts, and for the most part, they were fantastic. And they both had parts I didn't like, and I didn't like them for different reasons, but I didn't like it. But it's so hard to get a good DC movie. And it's, I can't say that I'm Marvel or DC. I like both. I like heroes from both universes, but I just want to see that group succeed. And I feel hypocritical because I've been saying all along that, let's get past the superhero movies, but I want this kind of superhero movie. I want the small scale, adventures type friends and the good story. I want a good story. Superhero movie. I want it to be less about the powers and more about what the story is. Joker had a great story. Harley Quinn has a great story. Let's make more of these. And if DC's going to be the ones who do it, great. Let's let them do it. If Marvel wants to stick to the big action movies, let them do that too. And I'm happy for them. It just, as someone who's going to make kind of smaller films and going to make more character-driven films, I want to see more stuff like this, and less, if it's going to be that way, superhero movies like the big Marvel franchise movies. But of course, it's time. Let's go through our questions. Do you like a superhero movie? Do you like Harley Quinn? Do you like the DC universe? Do you like female empowerment stories? Do you like stories about women just coming together and like kicking ass? And do you like a lot of guys getting kicked in the balls? You're probably going to like this movie. Oh, there is a lot of ball kicking. A lot. Like, a lot. There's also a lot of leg breaking and arm breaking. So, like, you know, I spoke about a few weeks ago, Brawl in Cell Block 99, and the arm bones coming out. We don't see the bones. What we see is the ostriching, which is what I believe it's referred to as. And that's where the leg, which is supposed to bend this way as you walk, all of a sudden bends this way. or like this way, if it's the same leg. There's a lot of that too. There's a lot of phantom pain as you see the injuries on there. But it's funny. It's phantom pain in a funny way. I can't explain how that works. If you don't really like, I don't want to call it animated violence, comic violence, you're not going to like this. There's not a lot of like, I don't want to say a lot of blood and gore. There's a lot of like some face hits that you can see like a little spray or like a tooth or something like that. It's not Brawl in Cell Block 99. It's something way more subdued than that. So I think that it's so much different that even if you don't like violence particularly, you're going to be okay with this. And you're going to know the moments when you should look away. When someone has their leg outstretched and Harley goes to jump, time to cover your eyes because that leg's going in opposite direction. And I mean, who's not going to like this movie? Let's talk about that too. Coming out of the theater tonight, I heard a couple of guys on our way into the bathroom just discussing like, oh, well, of course, I knew exactly what I was going into. I just wanted to see it to know that I was right. Just another excuse that men are terrible, women are the best, they need to be the heroes. Whoa, guys, let's hold on there just a minute because we've spent the last, I don't know, all of my lifetime essentially, all of the lifetimes of everyone you probably know, just glorifying men and their violence and their stories. And this is a small version of that. And yeah, it's a women's driven story, but it's also comic book characters who are women. The man is a bad guy. Newsflash. Men are bad guys? But I mean, even not to be so broad, the bad guys are generally men in every movie. No matter who the superhero is, he's usually facing off by a bad guy. I mean, they call them bad guys. Guys, we're sometimes bad. I prefer the term evil genius, but I'll take bad guy depending on the day. If you have those same feelings, you're not going to like this movie. Just skip it. And please save me and everyone like me the headache of having to follow you out of a theater and hear your nonsensical crap about the movie, which has nothing to do with the movie itself. Like most movies, it's a little over 2 hours, so it's a bit of a long one. I mean, I wish I could say that would be a deal breaker or something you should consider, but it's essentially the same length of most of the movies you're going to see. I think it's like 2:14. Runtime at 2:14 is in the heart of what you're going to watch now, unless you're seeing a kid's movie or like a rom-com, which will run 90 minutes or 100 minutes. You know, it's not even that. It's not too long, and the first 4/5 of the movie passed, and I didn't even notice it. So I think you'll be fine getting through the length of the movie. I mean, really, I don't think there's anybody who's not going to like the movie. Margot Robbie does such a great job with this character, and she's supported, even though they're all kind of like leading characters, by these group of women who are all really good as their characters and in their positions, and they just like support each other, but they know who they are and they reflect it so well. I can't imagine it being better than what I saw there. And I mean, other than the stuff that I point out in the spoiler section, which you're going to have to check out when you get there. But, I mean, even for all its weaknesses, I would say that this is a must-see. I had the lowest opening of a DC movie in a while, which was surprising to me. I don't know why that would be. Maybe it was because it was Oscar weekend, not a good weekend to open a movie on. Maybe it was because it's 5 women and half the country decided they didn't want to see it. I don't know. But you should definitely go out and see it, because Birds of Prey, the Fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn, is worth the see, worth the money, worth the time. So go out and check it out. I saw it in Dolby Cinema. I 100% recommend that. The sound, the video, the screen quality, you can't be beat other than at Dolby Cinema at AMC, which is where I saw it. And I think everyone should see it in that kind of format because it was beautiful. It was amazing. It was, okay, it wasn't awe-inspiring, but it was great. So you should go check it out. But no matter how you see it, well, no matter what format, go and see Birds of Prey this weekend. Don't miss it. So there you have it, another episode of the Everyman Movie Review in the books. Right at the top here, I want to thank my patrons over at Patreon. I could not do this without you guys. Like I said at the top of the episode, and I keep saying I'm having new equipment delivered, it seems like all the time. I just got a set of Samson CO2 pencil condenser microphones that are hopefully improving the audio quality immensely. Cameras are coming in, lights are coming in, new computers, new software, everything. I could not do that without you. And of course, the moral support. There's nothing better than getting a message that just says, hey, keep it up, or I'm listening, I'm subscribed, I'm loving the content. That kind of stuff just keeps me motivated and keeps me going. And my patrons are on the front line of the people doing that. So thank you to all of you guys. If you want to be one of the chosen few, it's so easy. Go on over to patreon.com, that's patreon.com/Robert N. Cheek, and for as little as $1 a month, you too can become a supporter of mine. You get shout outs in all the books and the videos like I'm doing right now. Basically in any of my projects I mention and give thanks to the people who support me on the front line. And while you're cruising around the interwebs, don't forget that the Everyman Movie Review is available on social media now. You can check it out on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook. All of those links are going to be found down below in the description. Make sure you check it out. Come and join the community. Say hello to everyone who follows along. Send me a message. Let me know what you think about this particular podcast or YouTube episode, whatever it is you're watching, however you're consuming it. And speaking of that, it's available in both. You can find the videos at youtube.com/Rob Cheek, and you can find the podcast episodes at anchor.fm/Everyman Movie Reviews. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you leave a comment below and let me know what you think there as well. And while you're here, hit the like button, let everybody know that you like the video, and maybe subscribe. It'll let you know when the next video is out. If you're listening on Anchor, go on over to anchor.fm/Everyman Movie Review/message. That'll let you send me a voicemail or a text, and if you want, I can actually play it right on the podcast version of the show to let everybody know what you think about my review of this movie. And of course, if you want to find me on social media, all of my accounts across all the social media are at Robert N. Cheek. That's going to be Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Snapchat, everything at Robert N. Cheek. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/Rob Cheek. Working on changing that, hopefully soon. And of course, don't forget robertncheek.com, where you can find everything about me and all the stuff that I'm working on. And you can sign up for the mailing list to be the first to know about all the new projects before they come out. And if you can't get enough of me, why would you? You can join me every single Tuesday where me and my buddy Corey do the Ohhhhh Anthem podcast. We talk about news, we talk about sports, we talk about events happening around the world, especially here in LA where we currently live, and back in Baltimore, our home away from home. New episodes of that podcast are available every Tuesday. You can find the video version at youtube.com/Ohhhh Anthem, and it's available in podcast form on all your podcatchers, but the easiest one, of course, anchor.fm/Ohhhh Anthem. And finally, thank you as always for checking out this show. New episodes are available every single Thursday, as well as one day in between, Sunday or Monday usually, generally. You can find a new episode as well. I try to do a little bit mix of new movies and a little bit of old movies, stuff I find on streaming, either on Amazon or HBO or anywhere that I can find it, Netflix. But you also see a lot of new movie reviews from stuff that's still in the theaters, and maybe even second-run theaters, because I'm a huge proponent of the second-run theater. So make sure you join us next time for the next review. And of course, we got more projects coming all the time over on YouTube. A new episode of Rob Explains Everything is coming very soon. I'm getting ready to shoot that, in fact. So make sure you check out that as well. And until then, of course, have a great week, everybody.